Hey, gang. I have no idea what's going on today. I cannot get my camera to work. And I think it's on. Worked fine yesterday, worked fine last night. No idea what's going with that. But I guess today's going to be real radio. Oh, that I'm going to kill that dog. I got a puppy that I let the door open so she can go in and out and do whatever she wants to do. But she's doing too much of whatever she wants to do. I'm going to keep. I guess if I try firing it up again. But let's bring Philip out. I know he's here. And he's going to be. I don't know if you can talk about your new project, but Philip's going to be with us for the first hour every Wednesday, and only the first hour. He's got some other things going on. Are you ready to give us hints about that yet, or not yet?
Not yet. Soon.
Okay.
It's working on something to benefit both people on the left and the right. Okay,
so that's always a good thing. Is it? Are we talking about another book, or what do you got coming?
No, it's not another book. It's just a business endeavor I'm working on, just helping people with their health. Helping people enjoy more of life after 40. Technically, it is actually another book. it's actually another book I wrote. Yeah. So, but stay tuned.
So, I'm just down here. I'm trying to figure out what worked yesterday, what has been working for I don't know how long is not working anymore. I have no. I mean, I can use that overlay, but I have no camera feed today, which is really. I mean, ultimately, it's a radio show, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But so much of what we do is done via video, even if it's just looking at my ugly ass. So
looking at me isn't any better.
Yeah, we can just put our actual thumbnail looks pretty good. I don't know why we just don't stick with that. Yeah, this is frustrating. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you want to do thumbnails, or because I would think thumbnails look much better than this little Tesla looking sign that's above you?
Well, yeah, no, that I'm trying to restart OBS, which isn't the OBS isn't the problem. I think it's a cable within. I think it's the cable that's connecting the phone, or rather the camera, with the computer, because the video card is now showing the album cover for Up the Middle. And that's just something I haven't. That's just another screen that I haven't put a thumbnail that fills that whole screen in. I don't know why I did that the other day. I was filming something and that's all that I had or whatever. I don't know. But yeah. So thumbnails. Let's see. Here's only covering the banners. Da, da, da. Yeah, I mean I can use that one for me. And that fills the whole thing. And then when you go in the second hour, at least it's not going to be a big gap. But that's frustrating because Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Today, while we've got Philip with us, I've been broadcasting to Instagram. And what I like about that is when you go live on Instagram, it sends an alert to all of your followers
Mm-hmm.
that are also online. And they take like one look at it and leave. And they're not even on long enough for me to, address them and say, hey, hello, welcome. I'm having a technical issue. Just hang tight. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of the show will be worth your while. Hang out for a little bit. And boom, they're gone. And if that's what's consistently going to be what I get from Instagram, I'm going to broadcast it somewhere else. I mean, we get hundreds of people back and forth the entire show on TikTok.
Well, you have to think about it, Ross. Like, we are in the attention generation, and Instagram is one where we are basically educating ourselves or conditioning ourselves, if nothing else, to keep our attention for 5 to 13 seconds before moving on to something else. So,
Oh, I
so
know.
when you pop up, you got 5 to 13 seconds before they make a decision to swipe up, swipe left, or right, or whatever the way it is nowadays.
Yeah, that's crazy. But for today, with or without people on Instagram, we've got the president of the NYU College Republicans
Mm-hmm.
resigning after calling Barron Trump an oddity. I mean, have you seen that kid? He is your basic 18-year-old. He is an oddity.
He's kind of tall.
Yeah. But also, we've got new numbers out for, you're going to like this. I think they're actually good this time. 70% of Americans fulfill or believe that Donald Trump is fulfilling his campaign promises.
That's a good number.
That's not a bad number at all. I think if we reorganize that question
Mm-hmm.
to do you think he's doing it legally, we would probably see that go back down to the 48% that it was earlier this week.
They should do a poll, see what the people think.
But, like I said before, I'm not a fan. I certainly want him to do well.
We're all in this together, Ross.
Yeah, I
The
just
ship
wish he
is either
would.
going to sail or sink, and we're all included now.
Yeah, I just wish he would reevaluate what he's doing with Elon Musk. I mean, that could be done way more professionally, more legally, more lots of things.
Now both of them did do an interview with Hannity that
I missed that.
I
heard
got
about it.
recorded, so I have to watch that and see how that went.
Yeah, you'll have to join us maybe Friday if you get a chance,
Okay.
and tell us about that if you get a chance, if you're able to.
Okay.
And also, many people have been saying this. I mean, I should probably share this screen. At least we got something then. Many people have been saying this, and that is that there's a constitutional crisis with how he's ignoring courts, Trump, that is,
Mm-hmm.
how he's ignoring courts, how he's bypassing a lot of the systems of checks and balances, but also the procedures
Mm-hmm.
that do exist in government. I just realized I wasn't broadcasting on one of my. There we go. Some of the procedures of what does exist in government. And Josh Hawley of Missouri
Mm-hmm.
is the latest one to step up and say, we've got an issue here. And it's with his issue apparently is with Kristi Noem.
Okay.
So we'll take a look at that before you leave.
Sure.
And maybe, I don't know if we'll get to this one or not in this first hour, but I titled this From Reality to Fantasy Land.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Trump's transportation secretary, who apparently his claim to fame was that he was a reality TV star like Trump. And now he's in a fantasy land, I think.
Mm-hmm.
that he's got safe skies when there have been more than 7 crashes or incidents at airports.
Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like
And
red or blue? You're looking at the news and you're like, another one?
yeah, yeah. And there was one in Manila where this kind of sounds spy related. There was some military guy and some contractors doing aerial surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds CIA. And that did not get a lot of news coverage. One more reason why that sounds CIA.
And CIA now is headed by ultimately Tulsi.
Well, the entire intelligence community is headed by Tulsi, and that's one of the problems that we got. I don't think she's qualified to be the DNI, but who's overqualified to be his director is his current director of the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Because last time around, that guy was the DNI. So it's kind of a demotion of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
in that he's now just the director of the CIA. Oh, that is our. What do I have that set at? 13 minutes for each segment. I don't know. Did you hear that?
I did.
Okay. I'm working on that to try to not. So I hear that and only I hear it. But yeah, it's time for a commercial basically. But uh, uh, I should be getting another alarm in 3 seconds. And there it is. Did you hear that one?
I did not.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Well, we'll do the break in a second. But Brian Tyler Cohen is one of the progressives that I follow, and he does this pretty long tirade about a 10-minute video. We won't do the whole thing, but we'll play some of that. And I want to see what your take on some of this is, and if something we got to push to next week because you're not as familiar with it, because I know this one's kind of last minute, but that's fine too. But if it's something that you're at least have a thought about, I want to hear what that is. And we'll probably do this in the next hour because I don't think all of these will be fit in the next 45 minutes. But the 12 phrases of emotionally immature people, according to communication experts.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through them already, and I just couldn't stop laughing because Trump uses almost all of them.
So these are phrases that emotionally immature people use in communications.
Yes.
Okay.
So on their day to day, apparently. I didn't read the whole article. I just went through, here's number 1, blah, blah, blah. And
Is huge one of them?
well, let's do it. We can buzz through this, and I think if nothing else, get a kick out of it. Number 1, it's not my fault.
That sounds like something that my kid would say.
I think the orange one might say that on occasionally too. Number 2, if you hadn't done that, it wouldn't have happened.
I've heard him say that.
Yeah. Number 3, I don't need to explain myself to you.
Defensive. Okay.
Isn't that when he kind of says you're fake news?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Similar to that is number 4, you're overreacting. I don't hear that one from him as much. I mean, if you want to try to push that one onto the fake news thing, yeah, it might be a little bit of a stretch, and we might give him this one here. Now, what's her name? I'm forgetting, but the 27-year-old press secretary.
Oh, Carolyn Levitt.
Yeah, I see. I can hear her saying this.
Oh yeah.
That they're misinterpreting.
You're overreacting. Let's stick to the facts here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep. Number 5 is whatever.
I don't recall him saying that before.
No, not that one, especially not that one verbatim.
Uh-huh.
But See, now they throw in with that, and I don't necessarily agree with this one. Sometimes there's a position of authority that has to be exercised. And they say people use the simple whatever, often with a shrug, to say, I'm done discussing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an emotionally immature method to shut down the paths of communication and figuratively walk away from any further discussion. I think sometimes as a position of authority, and I would include the president on this, any president,
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, this is what we're doing. I'm done discussing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the same as, yeah, whatever.
Yep, I agree with you.
But here's one. Now, again, these are not necessarily verbatim,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly the idea behind it. What are you talking about? I never said that. I think Trump supporters in general are guilty of that one.
What makes
I
you say
cite as a
that?
perfect example, I'm going to fix the prices of groceries on day one. Now, all of a sudden, he either never said that or that's too soon. I'm seeing and hearing all kinds of excuses.
Or it's not a quick light switch fix. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He said he's not even starting on groceries though. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm still gonna hold the feet to the fire. And
That's fair.
he even walked back that one after being elected on that concept. But then sometime I think it was in December when he said that's gonna be tougher than, you know, what I said or whatever. I forget how he
Mm-hmm.
said it, but he kind of walked back that promise right after the holidays, I think it was. Number 7, it's your problem, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of goes back to it's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number 8, and goes to you're overreacting. Number 8 is you're making such a big deal out of nothing. And I don't see him necessarily saying that, but I think the press secretary and also followers of his. And the perfect example there is when he said he could stand in the middle of, what was it, Fifth Avenue and
Oh
shoot
yeah.
somebody. And or that when he says he's going to be a dictator,
On day one.
and people say, "Oh, you're overreacting. You're this, that, or the other thing." Well, how much has he put before Congress in the past month,
Mm-hmm.
and how much has been put before him in an executive order? I counted that there have been 64 so far, and it's already the most of any president in this honeymoon time frame.
Oh, I thought it'd be over 100.
Well, I mean, you probably won't be far behind. He's got a weekend coming, and that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be when he does a lot of them. Number 9 is you're talking about the past.
How is that like emotionally immature? If that's a matter of fact, just
Well, let's see what they say. Yes, it's usually best to focus on the future, but emotionally immature people will often accuse people who bring up their mistakes. Now, I see what they're, yeah. My mom, when she fights with dad, does this all the time. 20 years ago, you did this, that, or the other thing. Bring up mistakes of harping on the past. They don't want to learn from their mistakes, and they don't want to an honest discussion about whatever is happening. They want to move on without addressing the issue. Um, I don't know that I've seen Trump specifically do that. I think the closest thing, especially in more recent times, is this, what do they call it? The shock and awe about how they're flooding the zone with so much at once.
mm-hmm.
It's tough for the media and such to keep track and hold the administration's feet to a fire. I think that's probably, but that's not necessarily talking about the past so much as it's really keeping everybody else incredibly busy. Number 10, I was just joking. Again, maybe not him, but with saying stupid things like I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any votes, or annexing Greenland, you know, and I don't think that's a joke, but still, I think that's a way that supporters will try to legitimize stupid comments by him. Number 11, you always / you never.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally immature people often use broad generalizations instead of engaging constructive, honest conversation. Yeah, and that's why here we call it patience.
I can see that.
We don't just say blah blah blah, off we go. I mean, Blake does that all the time. He'll send me something on Friday, and he'll say that he'll send me the citation, so I can put it in the notes. And of course, I never get it. And finally, number 12, but everyone does it. Yeah, I don't see that coming from him, or really the followers. And like I said, I don't think we were going to get all of them as guilty.
I've gotten a news alert that might prompt you to change your background.
Okay.
Wall Street Journal, Fox News, and Truth Social. Trump slams Zelensky as a quote dictator without elections. Touts negotiations to end Russia-Ukraine war. Wall Street Journal says Trump called Zelensky a dictator and accused him of misusing U.S. aid a day after the president claimed that Ukraine started the war with Russia.
What is he doing? Everybody knows that Eastern Europe has a pseudo democracy, that there's a little bit of a push towards the guy that everybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
And especially right now, I get that. Now is probably not a good time to change from Zelensky to anybody else when they're in the middle of losing their country in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to call Zelensky a dictator?
I know.
And you don't say anything about Putin?
I know.
Come on. And I'm not saying you as in Philip Black.
I know. I know.
But I mean, that's this guy. I mean, look on the bright side. This show is going to last for at least 4 more years.
There you go. You and Saturday Night Live, you got 4 years worth of content.
Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel.
Kimmel, he was so upset. He should be thanking his lucky stars. He's like, yes, another extension.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll have that in the show notes. We're still working on both of the primary websites, yergs.com and mastiff.media. There is no thing where I can easily edit the shows, or rather the like the 1.0 version of yergs.com. We had the capability of me just putting up a PDF into this library of show notes. That's not in this version yet. The company that's doing this for me has kind of went with their own template, and everybody's liking it. It's just not. They've got some filler information in there that's way not even close to accurate. So we've got to switch that before too many people are visiting it. Mm-hmm. And then, I want to get stuff like this more readily accessible to our audience. But this list will be a part of today's show notes. And let's get back to. I think we should actually share.
Don't forget the break.
Yeah, let's do that too. And I don't know if you and I talked about this yet, but we are taking shorter, or we're supposed to be doing more frequent. I mean, we're already at almost half past the hour in time for our second break of the show. But we're going to be doing more frequent. There it is.
There it is. It sounds like a doorbell.
Yeah. We're doing more frequent breaks, and they're shorter, so as to we get back more quickly. But let me run by both of these. and I got to take all three of these down anyway. Yeah, this is going to be a real short break because some of these affiliates we don't even have anymore. Capital One is in a. I got information from attorneys. Capital One is in a lawsuit because when you're an affiliate like us, where if you get your card through our link, we get a commission on that. Well, instead of using our link, you accidentally use a plugin that they have on their end. So now you sign up thinking that you're using my link and you're doing me a favor too. When on Capital One's end, they're bypassing me and cutting me out of that commission. So we might be signing up to be part of that class action lawsuit. And then, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Aroma by Peter, it's been more than a year since we've gotten any candles from him. And I'm just like, dude, here's my address. Here's my address again. Here's my address again. And I'm like, it's too bad because he's got good stuff. And I'm not going to go talking badly about a lot of these people. If they didn't have a good product, they wouldn't be here in the first place. But I'm also not going to support somebody who's not going to support me. And we had two Aroma by Peter, or two Capital One ad spots up. So there's more. And now that's the other news. You're taking a hiatus from buyblacket.com. Oh, now it's half past the hour. I don't think that's the one you're not hearing. But, we're getting there. First hour is almost down. We got one topic talked about. The other day, I think it was Monday's show, it took me 45 minutes just to get through the intro because I got to rambling about stupid crap. And we didn't get, and I wonder why people on Instagram don't stay long. But, all right. 99.1 WDJY, America One Radio. I think that one's back up. I got to listen to that today too. See where we're going. WZQR in Pineland, Florida. And, you didn't hear this yet. I don't know if they're on today yet, but we are now going to be on in Perth, Australia.
Oh, hey, nice.
The west coast of Australia on Radio X, available at radiox.com.au. And then today's another day where we're on K-Shop in Las Vegas, 1400 and 1071. And of course, Rainbow Radio, Yerg's Radio, and the rest of the Massive Media Network. We'll be back right after this.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum.
All right, so there's the every Wednesday, 11 a.m., Politics for the Rest of Us. And I got a catchphrase for myself now, too. Hosted by Yergs, a voice that sounds like yours. We hope. Oh, we're on in Australia. Awesome. So welcome to all our friends down under. You're listening to Up the Middle, Politics for the Rest of Us. This is an American political show, and we certainly welcome your comments. You can write us at news, NEWZ, at YERGZ.com. if you're watching, this is also on video, you can search on the best place right now is either the website mastiff.media or go to Facebook and search for Up the Middle Radio Show or Mastiff Media Facebook page, either of those two pages. Happy to give you further information there. And you can watch it on the Up the Middle page as it's the same show, same time. And then we have a direct feed that we'll tell you about later. And you can watch the video that way. You can listen to audio that way, so on and so forth. But I wouldn't want to steer you away from Radio X because I've been listening to Radio X and I really like what they're doing. I love the rock music that they play there. You can find out more, anybody else interested in Radio X, by going to radiox.com.au. And speaking of others, don't forget to check out Studio BBB. That's actually not the one I wanted to put, but I'll put it up now anyway. StudioBBB.org. That's Jane Stahl's website that she helps to monitor for the art studio. And what I meant to put up there was DNR Studios. That's another one we're starting on either later this month or beginning of next. I got to reach out to see where they're at. They just all got back from their cruise. DNR Studios also has a travel agency, DNR Travel, and they go on an annual cruise over the winter. Then they just get back from that. So, let's see, where are we at? Here is, that's our web, and there's Philip.
There's that oddity you mentioned.
And I got to be honest. I think he's a good-looking guy. He's just 6'8", 6'7", something like that.
Tall guy. Like,
yeah. I mean,
how many tall guys do you know like have the right balance about them and that smooth walk and don't look like they stick out like a sore thumb in the midst of everyone else?
He could be 5'8", not 6'8", and he would still be clumsy because he's grown at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably, if he was 5'8" now, he was probably 5'4" a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not used to the extra everything, whether it's height, unbalance, muscular tone, whatever he's got.
Like he can't hide from Secret Service, dude. Like Secret Service could flank him and he's still standing like a head and shoulders taller than them. So you can pick him off still. Like,
and well, I will bet that the agents that get assigned to him are also tall agents.
You got to.
Very recent. Yeah. Because if there is a situation where they have to evacuate him in a hurry, they're picking him up and carrying him out the door.
Like anybody shorter than like 6 feet, they're going to be shouting DEI. So you can't find anybody better. That's the best you can find.
100%. Yeah. But I mean, Dick Cheney was quoted as saying, with regards to September 11th, he said, I was in the middle of a meeting and two large men in dark suits came in the room, picked me up, carried me out. My feet hit the floor twice between the table and the limo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hurry.
Yeah. And how much were you probably weight-wise at that point, Ross?
When Dick Cheney was in office?
Yeah, when you got picked up, right? Or was it Dick Cheney?
No, Dick Cheney got picked up at two agents. I wasn't on his detail. I was at his house.
Okay. I was like,
I was assigned as the next layer of protection at his house.
Gotcha.
When he was in Jackson. That was one of my favorite trips. Oh God, Jackson, Wyoming is beautiful. I was 10 feet away from a moose too. I mean, there's so many things in my career. There's no reason I should be alive. But I was walking around the house and I was passing one of the vehicle posts that had night vision. And they hit me up over the radio. They just tell me to stop. So I do. And they say, to your right is the big set of bushes, which I knew about.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of that, those are not branches. and my eyes did that turn without turning my head, and I'm just looking at this at the corner of my eyes, and I realize that's a bull moose covered in snow.
Did your eyes meet?
I don't know because I wasn't there longer. I started backing up, and I went another. I forget what post I was going to. I think it was the one by this
Would a
strip
moose
backyard.
charge you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
If I was in its turf, which I was, but what was between him and me were most of these bushes. Had those agents that were in the truck let me continue off to my next post by going that same route, I would have gone around those bushes and in the opening that the moose used to get in between all these bushes in the center of these bushes. And he was basically using the bushes for some type of cover from the weather,
Mm-hmm.
except, obviously the door to that little house is still going to be open. And yeah, he was standing right there in the doorway and would have been able to come right out at me. And they're not clumsy animals. Don't believe what you see on Rocky and Bullwinkle. Them bison, they're very agile animals and fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was my brush with death. But Cheney,
Real quick, before you move to Cheney,
but
I just thought of something as you were telling me that.
yeah,
You know what would be like a really interesting segment for you to do on a weekly basis?
what's that?
You can wordsmith the title, but I'm thinking like SSS. Secret Service Story Time.
Yeah,
Because I think like that story is a great example of just part of why I like coming on here with you. For
okay,
nothing else, like sure, I love the barb about Trump and that sort of thing.
yeah,
But
sure,
I actually get a lot out of learning these little stories about what life was like when you're in the Secret Service. Right?
all right,
Like that to me is like if you hadn't thought about something like that, maybe in the future, like a quick weekly segment where you kind of share one of those type of things, I think a lot of people would take value from that. You know, you can pull the
yeah,
audience if you like, but I really like that Wyoming story. Like you
oh
almost
yeah,
got trampled by a bull moose. I've
yeah.
never seen one outside of a zoo. So that's kind of cool.
That's also the only was my trips to Wyoming was the only time I ever saw snow in August.
Oh.
August. Um, hey, great show last night, Travis. Travis Evans and Company, The Point with Travis Evans had their 500th show last night.
Nice. Congrats.
Nice, and he now moves the video onto his page as well. If you haven't noticed yet, Travis, my camera decided not to work today, and I think it's the cable. So I'll swap that out after the show and see what I can fix. But it's not. I've rebooted OBS and so on a couple times and nothing else. So we got Philip, but just a album cover for me up there, and then Ken checking in as well. Another super fan.
Maybe you can crop that picture of Baron and make that your thumbnail.
I'd have to, like I'm listening for audience members to let me screen grab that quick.
Because here's the funny part. Now it makes me think of what did Ross look like at 18 years old? Was it too far up in there?
Hold on, I got that. I can actually use that too. I'll just save that to the desktop quick. Baron Yerger. I'll call it that. But
that sounds like a good name too. Baron Yerger.
I like that name. Let's see there.
What's your name? Baron Yerger.
Yep.
People won't forget that one.
There you go. How's that?
I like it.
And I do. Now that you've mentioned that, I will also put this one up. If I can find it here, give me a couple of. I think it's there. I think it's on the one with me. There it is. All right, you ready? Are you ready?
I'm sitting down.
Are you ready?
I'm sitting down.
Here we are. Prom night.
Oh, buddy.
May 1990.
Bro.
Is that a good looking dude there or what?
Dude, I'm married, and I had to say, yeah. You got a jawline, boy.
Yeah, we got fat over the years, didn't we?
I mean, my goodness. Like, I don't know why she wasn't excited.
She had a boyfriend, and she already.
I'm about to say, did you tell her she wasn't your type? You just
Yeah, well, there was that too.
She felt like she lost out. She's like, why am I even with this guy?
that wasn't. I reconnected with a bunch of friends of mine from high school, and one lives down here in
Good
Florida.
looking photo, dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of that one.
Yeah.
And one of these, he's working now, or otherwise I know he'd be listening because he sometimes catches up, by playing it afterwards. My buddy Randy Schleshman was one of the 3 other guys I shared a hotel room with on our class trip to Disney. And he and Jack McCluskey shared a bed because they wanted to see if I would make moves on our other buddy, Sean Irie. Because they already, those two, thought I was gay.
Okay.
In high school. And so they said, okay, you and I are sharing a bed so we can get Sean in with the gay guy and see if anything happens. And obviously I was in heaven being in the bed with all 3 of them, but I wasn't going to tell them that. And so, yeah. I couldn't stop laughing when he told me that because I also had a crush on the dude that they put me in bed with. He was a good looking guy. But,
was he on this level with this photo as far as good looking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all 4 of us were good looking back in high school. I'd say I haven't seen Sean probably since high school. He was, his date to the prom was his girlfriend. And she would dump him in favor of college and college life. And that really kicked him in the balls. So he kind of went super recluse from everybody. Yeah, I seriously don't know what he's up to. His dad just passed away last year. This past fall, I think. I wasn't able to get back for the funeral, but the early 80s, super healthy. He was actually our gym teacher and health teacher. And had a stroke and passed away. So I'm presuming he would have been back to Boyertown for that. I don't think he's even living in Boyertown. But yes, that's what's happening with the camera. I think it's the cable because you've probably seen it before. It would be operating fine. And then that sign would come up. Or actually, no, this one would come up. That one would come up and it would go right back to the camera. Well, if you're seeing that logo, Elgato, that's who makes the video card that we're plugged into. So if you're seeing that, that means the card's working. If you're seeing that from the camera, that means the camera's working. But if you see that Elgato flashing back and forth, that basically means there's a short. And the only place that could be is in the cable. So now that we're not getting any signal at all, I'm guessing probably, I'm looking to see what damage she did this time. Probably there was a puppy underneath this desk playing with cables as though they were a toy, like she did when we were in the other studio. And that's why I couldn't use two cameras right now if I wanted to, because one of my dummy batteries, the cable, was chewed in two pieces. So, yeah. They're both sleeping. I'd lift the camera up and show you, but it would be useless. They're both sleeping on the bed right now. Yeah. So that's the prom photo. And no, it was not a successful prom night. She had to go home to her parents and to her boyfriend. I had to go home the next day and umpire 3 baseball games on Saturday morning and afternoon. Yeah.
You're hitting the balls afterwards?
Very little sleep. No, I was an umpire. So fortunately, the only eye-to-hand coordination was me calling balls and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, when we come back, we kind of took a look at. How far did we talk about the polls? Did we talk about that?
70%. Yeah, I remember that.
But I don't think there might be more to it. We'll take a look at the.
So it sounds like Barron actually said something that sparked resignation of the NYU Republican president. It wasn't so much he just looked like an oddity. He said something. What did he say?
Oh no! I saw this before actually. The head of the New York University College Republicans resigned after calling President Donald Trump's youngest son an oddity on campus.
Oh, was this probably based on what he said that led him to be out?
To Vanity Fair last week as sort of an oddity on campus, adding, he goes to class, he goes home. She also told the magazine that one of her professors joked that the first son doesn't really belong here, referring to the school's historically liberal community. In response, College Republicans of America said in a statement Monday that Walker's do not to align the values and principles upheld.
Do not align.
Oh yeah. There's a missing word there. The Walker statement does not align with the values and principles upheld by our organization. While the group blasted the media's portrayal of her comments, they said they still found them inappropriate. Wow. Can we get some editors here? Still found them inappropriate.
Oh, yeah. And this is MSN.
Yeah, really. We are collaborating closely with the NYU chapter to ensure a smooth transition in leadership. Our goal is to reaffirm CRA's dedication. What is that, CRA? College Republican America. Okay. Dedication to the ideals of the Republican Party and conservative movement in a manner that reflects honorably upon our organization and its mission. That's according to the statement from headquarters. The organization broke with 100 years of precedent when it endorsed Donald Trump in January 2024 ahead of the primaries. Our support for President Trump is and has been a pillar of our organization. So basically, they don't endorse somebody until the primaries are at least underway. I'm getting from that. Because, I mean, I don't think you're going to wait till after there's only one left till you place an endorsement. There's got to be somebody left in the field. It's part of the sport that is politics. Walker has not spoken out about leaving the organization or the controversy she created with her comments. I told you before, I got to be honest, I don't have a problem with what she said. Not that I want to slam Barron Trump, just that he's
Word got back to Papa Bear. Word got back to Papa Bear. That's all I know. Then all of a sudden, you got to tap on the shoulder afterwards.
I don't doubt that at all. But I mean, he's an oddity. He's 6'7", 6'8". You can't tell me he's used to being that tall, and that he's an athletic star, managing that kind of height and balance. But yeah, this is the cancel culture that we're in. I guess we're seeing some equality with it.
Well, it happened at the liberal NYU. It said in the article too.
Yeah, and that's why I don't get the professors comments like he doesn't belong there. Well, there are Republicans there.
Now, remember, we didn't get the professor's name on this one either.
Yeah.
Was that with intention to make sure that that professor didn't get in the chopping block either?
I don't know, because I think maybe MSN cut that part out because they're obviously way left.
They wanted to focus on the college Republican president. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of interesting. It's just we didn't get a name on the professor. Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, let's finish this and then we'll just cut you loose because we're coming up on top of the hour anyway.
Yep.
Walker wasn't the only one of Barron's classmates to be quoted in Vanity Fair's article. One student recalled to the outlet when he asked the first son to play basketball, Barron seemed interested, but the student believed he wasn't really allowed to do stuff, noting the plainclothes Secret Service agents, it says officers, but they were agents, nearby. Latest from the Independent's Trump blog.
Yeah, I think that's a different.
Really different.
Yep.
No,
so he couldn't even play basketball.
But here we go. Maria Arana,
Uh-huh.
another student and social media influencer. Was everybody a social media influencer? I never heard of this lady until right now, and she's an influencer.
Because she'll be able to quote. She'll be able to quote as seen on MSN now.
Yeah, exactly. Who is she influencing? If this lady Maria Arana is an influencer, I want to see the sheep that follow this lady.
I mean, I don't know. You're promoting her now by talking about her. Maybe your audience may want to look it up.
Yeah. And that's one of the funniest things I ever heard Howard Stern say. He's bitching about some guy that put negative stuff in the newspaper about him. And Howard goes, the only reason they say that stuff is so I talk about him on the air. And here I am talking about him, so I guess it worked.
Here's something I just thought of. Like, no camera on you, and you're talking.
Right.
There was a part of me, even when you were talking about Howard Stern and saying what he had to say, you sounded a little like Howard Stern to me.
Oh, now I got to tell you this story. 2023.
Like, what if we put your what if we put a Howard Stern thumbnail and we just carried this on? Would people think that we're actually talking to Howard Stern?
Wish for. Be careful what you wish for here on Mastiff Media. Where's headshots? There we go. Oh, I think I got a whole folder for him. Oh, come on. I know I do.
All I ask is that I stay as Philip and not as Robin, okay? Don't get me confused with her, please. Or Beetlejuice for that matter. Goodness gracious.
There we go. Here's this one.
Yep.
and there's the John Lennon glasses that he's also famous for.
Yep.
This one's a little better though. I like this one instead.
You like that one better?
Yeah, I mean you can actually see his eyes. That's more recent.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
he's the shorter, long hair than the big bush that he used to have. And
all right, tell me the story.
So it's Halloween 2023. Yerg's Radio is on the air for like a month and a half. Mm-hmm. And we are now simulcasting our first other show. It's the Misfits, a Saturday night show run by Glenn Sportcat Jackson. And I called in, I think, and I said, hang tight. I've got to run to the airport and pick up a friend. And you're going to want to see this friend on your show. Because it's also like this, where they have, in addition to being on Yerg's Radio, they also have cameras on everybody. And the bigger part of their show is actually for like YouTube and such. Mm-hmm. So I run to a Halloween supply store down the road, probably about 10 or 15 minutes, and it took me almost an hour. And I get a Howard Stern wig and one of my pairs of, I'm big on sunglasses and protecting my eyes. And so I come back and I'm wearing this Howard Stern wig with these sunglasses, and I'm my voice, no camera on yet. I say, okay, here's my buddy. He's visiting from out of town. Ladies and gentlemen, Howard Stern. And I turn my camera on, and there's me with this long hair and kind of like, I think I had like one of my leather jackets on, just to make it kind of look like the rock star look that he's got, and sunglasses. And for like the first couple of minutes, one of the guys on the show actually thought I was Howard Stern. He didn't get the joke. You know, everybody was laughing. They kind of saw it. They know. But dude, I'm so happy. Wow, this is so cool. You know, he just, and finally Glenn had to say, he goes, dude, you know that's yours, right? And he pauses and he kind of plays it off like, yeah, I knew I was just playing along. And totally, we saw we had him. We totally had him. All right. Well, every Wednesday, Philip Blackett joins us here for Translating Trump. That's our first hour. All right, man. Is today lunch day or is that Fridays? When do you and the missus go to Fridays? Okay. Yeah. Well, get to your project, and we will see you next week.
See you soon, Howard.
Yeah. All right, pal.
All right. Take it easy.
Philip Blackett, everybody. I would say that you can check out his merch at buyblackett.com, but you're suspending that for a little bit, right? So you can work on some other things.
You can show the book. Okay. And next time I talk, I might share the new book that's related to the new project I'm working on. So,
all right. Well, that is, let's see, what are we losing here? Oh, I got to stop that. I don't even know what the hell that one was. Was it the segment ended? No, that wasn't. Oh, we're stopping the cuckoo clocks. It's driving me nuts. Oh, I know what that was. That was for the other clock here. I got like all these different. It looked like Father Time. I got all these different clocks running. All right, man. Get out of here. Have a good Wednesday and rest of your week, and we'll see you in a week from now.
See you then.
All right, man. Thanks, Philip Blackett. You can follow him at Philip Blackett on social media. I think that's still accurate enough. Is it? Are you still there? Yeah, at Philip Blackett on anywhere you want to be, on whatever social media. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you. Thumbs up again.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll see you next week. All right. So you can follow Philip at Philip Blackett anywhere you want to be on social media, and do that because he's got some good insight to the Trump administration, and we'll be back with him next week. 99.1 WDJY. We are now 2 hours on Wednesdays with WDJY, so we're not going to be losing them. America One Radio I wasn't listening to today to check in with it. I know we would have just lost Las Vegas, and I want to see if Australia is doing 2 hours. I think they're doing all 2 hours. Yeah. Still on in Las Vegas, or rather Australia. So welcome again to everybody in Perth, Australia, joining us at, I gotta check this because the general manager is a really great to work with. Time, there we go. So right now it's noon. Ian, let's share this. This is really cool. I love this thing. I gotta try to make this bigger. This world clock. There we go. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. This world clock is what I use to, figure out where everybody's at and when and so on. And where you see that arrow up, EST, that's us here in Tampa. It's right now about noon, a couple minutes after. And if you go up to Perth, it's 1 a.m. And so an hour ago, when it was 11 a.m., it was midnight in Perth. 3 a.m. in Sydney and Melbourne, where we're also on because, I mean, it's an internet station. And they've got any internet station is global, just like our others. It's 4 p.m. or actually now it's 5 p.m. in London. And look at that. For Berlin, they use military time. So it's 1800 hours, or what would be 6 p.m. in Berlin. They are 6 hours ahead of us. Atlanta, that's us. I mean, that's same time zone. We're in Tampa. Las Vegas, where we just signed off from, it's now 9 a.m. We're only on 1 hour a day there, and it's only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right now. So that's our next step, is to fill up Tuesday and Thursday. I think we're on through end of March with that contract. So we want to start up soon, all 5 days a week, and continue that into April. So, yeah, that's psyched for that. And speaking of adding to, we've got, where is it? I got to look this. I forgot. Oh, it's over there. BCQ, I think it is. Let me make a look at this. I'm going to play some music just for 1 second because I don't want dead air. I'm going to run over to my kitchen table. It's on a whiteboard that's laying down on the table right now. Be right back, gang. Died. I'm back. WBCQ is one of our next possible additions. I'm going to call them today and discuss particulars after the show. They are in Portland, Maine, but are shortwave. So actually, they're also global because a lot of that is shortwave radio, has international reach. Now, I don't think it's used by military because of the fact that that it can't be what's the word I'm looking for? It can't be codified. It can't be encoded. It can't be made secure because it's just like regular radio. It's not digital. But nevertheless, it doesn't have to be for that. It's just got to be able to reach around the corner. And it does through, because it actually bounces off the atmosphere. It's super cool. And we are talking with them to add them. I've got to try to get the price down just because it's for what we can be doing there compared to what we can be doing in Australia or not Australia, but Chicago. It's the shortwave station's a brokered station. So we'd be buying that airtime as opposed to so many of the internet stations where they're kind of a dime a dozen. They're happy to have you because of the nature of our show. Everybody in Australia is incredibly happy to have us because, it's a good, unique perspective, even though it's the middle of the night for them. It also fills their middle of the night schedule. So, they're happy to have it and we're happy to be there. Howard Yergs. There we go. Aussie. Where's that from? You said that the other day too. Is because you're putting that in quotes. It's like it's got to mean something. But yeah, I know America One Radio. We're only on for the first hour, so no sense trying to test that. Save that and go over to CQR. See if I don't know if we're on for 2 hours there, so this will be interesting. I don't know what he's got his program for. The manager's name there is really cool too. Bob Bill or something. Bob Bro. or Bill Bro. Bill Bro is the manager at WZQR. That is an awesome radio name. That's an awesome name, regardless. All right, moment of truth. Are we on a ZQR? I don't think we're on at all. Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah, so we're on the second hour in ZQR too. That's awesome. That's a site that gets like 2 million hits a month. How cool is that? All right. I've got to take a break. We're an hour past our last one. And even though, some of those affiliates I've cut, that doesn't mean that we don't support Momentum Fitness and Wellness, which I got to get my fat ass into. We'll be back.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum.
Yeah, I think we lost a connection there for a second. That's been happening with the video clips. I may have to do like an audio and just put an overlay up because the video has been cutting out. Let me know in the chat if that commercial cut out at all. And the Aussie, Aussie, Aussie is the chant used by Australian fans to show support for their country and sports teams. All right, cool. Oh, we do something like this at Penn State. So Ken's saying that, Ross, you would say, it's Yergs, bitch. That's my professional name. But Ross would say, Aussie, 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 3 times. And the rest of the crowd would respond by going, oi, oi, oi. Gotcha. Okay. We did something like that at Penn State where he sent a link. I can't actually open that because it'll just put all the link on the screen, like that. It doesn't actually let me open a link. I would have to, I don't know, maybe I could copy and paste it, but no, I can't do it that way. Yeah, no, can't do it. Sorry. But we would do something like that at Penn State where the Nittany Lion would be out on the out in the field, and he would point to one half of the stadium, and they would go, "We are," and he would point to the other half, and the other side would yell, "Penn State," and he'd go back and forth with that a couple times, and then he'd like do the whole arm swing thing where he could get up and cheer, and he'd point to the one side again, and we would yell, "Thank you," and the other side, and then they yell, "You're welcome." And to hear 100,000 people doing that at once is amazing. That is just such a cool thing to hear. And it literally echoes throughout the valley. It's so cool. All right, what is it? Right now, it's 12:12 here in the East Coast of the United States. 9:12 out in the left coast of Las Vegas and company. 5:13. We just added a minute. 5:13 in London, 18:13 in Berlin, 1:13 in the morning in Perth, Australia, 4:13 in Sydney and Melbourne on their East Coast. You're listening to Up the Middle, Politics for the Rest of Us. I'm Jurgs, a voice that sounds like yours. All right, let's get back to it. So we know that, did we really finish talking about Maria Arana? Another student and a social influencer told Vanity Fair that she hasn't seen the youngest Trump around campus, but has seen a shift in the way people discuss politics on campus. I've seen a lot of people just kind of keep it more to themselves. I don't know, like they're being stifled. The student's description of him stood in contrast with the many prominent figures who have described him, adding to the public perception of the relatively private first son. Eric Trump described him in October as probably the most watched bachelor in the world. He wasn't a bachelor in October. Why the hell would you say that? He's had a girlfriend. Elon Musk said he and Barron had discussed consciousness and video games over Thanksgiving dinner. Barron's Taylor guessed that he was well beyond his years in terms of experience, knowledge, history. He's just very fascinating to talk to. I've seen video of him, and I do believe he is, how should I say, well educated and properly taught with manners and such. The Independent is the world's most free-thinking news brand, providing global news, commentary, and analysis for the Independent. Is that where the story came from or something? I don't know where the hell that's coming from. But all right, so I just scrolled down and I found this. This has to be discussed. Caroline Leavitt, speaking of whatever you want to call her, gives fact check after Senator Schumer blames Trump for upside down Delta plane crash in Toronto. Right, yeah, obviously you can't necessarily immediately blame President Trump because this plane slides and flips and explodes, which, by the way, I don't think anybody was killed in that. I mean, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter that who you thank for that or who you credit for that or whatever. But that's a miracle because this thing goes up real quick, even on ice. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ripped Senator Chuck Schumer, a Democrat from New York, for blaming President Donald Trump for the Delta airliner that crash landed upside down in Toronto. Okay, so it didn't crash land upside down. It flipped after it hit the ground. But whatever. During an interview on America Reports on Tuesday, which is a Fox channel, go figure, she blasted the lawmaker for saying that Trump's recent cuts to the Federal Aviation Administration workforce contributed to the accident. It's incredibly irresponsible of Chuck Schumer to say such a thing when the investigation is still underway. I don't know. I mean, like Phil and I were talking. Yeah. I mean, there's already a list of crashes that never came close to happening during the Biden administration. And that clearly has to be addressed. Plane crashes spark renewed fear of flying, 10 causes of aviation disasters. We'll take a look at that probably tomorrow. A Delta Airlines plane that departed from Minneapolis-St. Paul on Monday crashed upon landing at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Video of the incident showed the plane touching down and rolling over onto its top side amid an eruption of flames. Footage of the crash's aftermath showed the plane upside down as passengers scrambled out of the passenger doors. All 80 passengers survived the crash, although 18 were injured, 3 of whom suffered critical injuries, probably had their seatbelts off. The crash sparked some political debate on Twitter, with Schumer pointing the finger at Trump for what happened. In a series of posts, he stated, "I'm thankful that everyone in the flight incident in Toronto that took off from Minneapolis is safe. But we keep seeing these incidents day after day." Yeah, we do. We do. We didn't see this during Biden. And that has to be addressed by the Trump administration. Meanwhile, Trump's doing massive layoffs at the FAA, true, including safety specialists, and making our skies less and less safe. None of what he said he's not blaming that accident by those statements. He's just saying this is just another one that would have probably happened if it also was headed to Buffalo. Democrats are fighting to protect the flying public, he added. In a subsequent post, Schumer wrote, "To those asking whether it matters that the plane's destination was in Canada, the flight took off from Minneapolis. The FAA was still responsible for inspecting the aviation equipment, and Trump just let it go to FAA safety specialists." And Trump just let go of FAA safety specialists. Yeah. Schumer's social media post came in wake of Trump blaming Biden-era FAA standards for contributing to the deadly crash between American Airlines plane and an Army helicopter that killed 67 at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Leavitt reportedly pushed back against the senator and dissected his claims. She began by noting that Canadian air traffic controllers are responsible for directing the plane at the time of the crash. Speaking to America Reports co-anchor John Roberts, she said, "And as you rightfully pointed out, John, this crash unfortunately took place in Canadian airspace. No, it took place on Canadian ground, not in Canadian airspace, with Canadian air traffic controllers overseeing it." And what happens when that investigation does continue and it was faulty equipment on the aircraft that would have prevented it from happening, regardless of where? She then disputed the point about Trump firing FAA officials. And the facts about the FAA are that no air traffic controllers have been let go by Secretary Duffy or this new administration. In fact, Secretary Duffy has been great emphasis on hiring the best and the brightest air traffic controllers who want to be part of the FAA. Okay, here's where they're not telling you everything. Air traffic controllers were never affected by DEI. All that ever would have done is all that ever did anywhere else, and that is ensure that other minorities, white gay men like me, if you're allowed to even claim that, blacks, browns, any other color you want, is given the same opportunity, not the same hiring result. And oh, by the way, while we're talking about DEI, like Trump did during the Reagan Airport Potomac River crash, the pilots of all aircraft were white males. The traffic controllers in the Reagan Tower were white males. So tell me how that's DEI. And I'm not even going to waste my time with the rest of this. It's Caroline Leavitt. I mean, if you've seen her, she's a very pretty girl. And I think we all know why and how she got to where she is. Ken saying, I think to get everyone out of the plane, there were other videos that people that was on the plane that posted about. That's the very first video I saw, was somebody who was on the ground and outside the plane saying, "We just landed. There's the plane." Essentially, to those lines. So yeah, that's Leavitt verse, and I'll put that one in too. But we'll make sure both stories are in the show notes in case you guys want to see it later. The new poll elevates Trump's second term. Yeah, he didn't have the best numbers a week ago. President Donald Trump has commenced his second term in the White House with favorable approval ratings, according to a CBS YouGov poll. 70% of Americans believe he is fulfilling his campaign promises. Key issues such as immigration and national security have garnered substantial backing, and data has revealed that Trump is gaining traction among traditionally Democratic voter demographics. In this photo gallery, we assess the historical shift in approval. Well, I don't know that there's any captions, there's just photos. Yeah, I mean, there's Trump with a Secret Service agent. You can tell by the earpiece. That's not a staffer. Trump on stage with somebody. Oh, that's I know who that is. I forget what her name is, but that's the girl from CNN. Trump. I mean, there's no captions there, so. Oh wait, maybe there was. Hold on. Oh, there is. Okay, give me a second here. There is. Okay. Notably, 69% of black voters approve of Trump's performance. A recent Morning Consult poll indicates that President Donald Trump holds a 52% overall approval rating, surpassing many global counterparts. Leaders such as Justin Trudeau, Olaf Scholz, and Emmanuel Macron have significantly lower ratings. Only Karen Keller-Sutter, Javier Milei, Claudia Sheinbaum, and Narendra Modi rank higher than Trump. Despite the positive ratings, Trump has faced criticism regarding his economic policies. 66% of respondents feel he has not prioritized addressing inflation adequately. So 78% approval rating, 66% pissed about the economy. So there's that. Let me get this comment off. Ken says, the sad part, I feel Trump is at a third or fourth grade level and doesn't really understand the term DEI. Yeah. And one of the things I've been seeing for people who are in favor of dropping DEI on any level is that they should say it. I am opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And maybe if they said it that way, they'd have a better realization of what they're being opposed to. Despite the positive ratings, Trump has faced criticism regarding his economic policies. 66% of respondents feel he has not prioritized addressing inflation adequately. His handling of the Israel-Hamas conflict has also received mixed responses, with skepticism regarding his proposal for the U.S. to take over Gaza. Really? I mean, shiny object syndrome much. We don't even have Greenland yet. We don't even have the Panama Canal yet. And already we're moving to Gaza. Nearly 60% of respondents approve of his deportation program, and 64% support the deployment of U.S. troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Experts have cautioned that despite the favorable numbers, Trump is one of the least popular U.S. presidents historically. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these numbers are for right now. They weren't that high a week ago. Let something else happen, like this crash in Toronto, and see what happens this weekend. And finally, we got one more after this. Sorry. Associate Professor of Political Science and Director of the Center of U.S. Politics at University of College London, Thomas Gift, stated, a big part of President Donald Trump's appeal at the moment is simply a reflection of the fact that he's in his honeymoon period, 100%. Gift added, there's a difference given to leaders in the initial part of their tenure that tends to fade over time as governing sets in. That said, to discount President Donald Trump's rising approval numbers as simply a matter of timing probably doesn't give him enough credit. Yeah, I mean, he's holding up to some of the things that he said he would do. And that, on its face by itself, is awesome. Now let's do those things legally. And that, I think, is going to be the challenge. Speaking of which, constitutional crisis, according to GOP lawmaker who's breaking with his own party. If you don't recognize the man in that picture, that's Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, as he, in that photo, questions Kristi Noem. KNews.com, and this story is also coming from MSN, but they're crediting KNews.com, reporting that Vice President J.D. Vance recently asserted that judges do not possess the authority to control the executive branch's legitimate powers. Recent court rulings have temporarily blocked several actions by the Trump administration, including efforts to end birthright citizenship. Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri expressed a contrasting viewpoint. Noting the importance of adhering to Supreme Court rulings, Hawley stated that while executives might interpret court mandates narrowly, outright defiance of judicial decisions is unacceptable. Yeah. Vance stated, judicial interference with legitimate acts of state, especially the internal functioning of a co-equal branch, is a violation of separation of powers. Meanwhile, that's exactly what they're supposed to do. Vance's remarks come amid multiple legal challenges facing the Trump administration, which has seen various rulings impede its agenda. He has argued that presidents should disregard court orders they perceive as infringing on their executive powers. That's a vice president talking. If you, as an American citizen, are okay with that, you're not an American citizen. That is not okay. Literally, in one statement, he's talking about co-equal branches. And then he turns around and makes an asinine statement like that. That is a vice president of the United States. Don't bitch to me about Kamala Harris if you support this asshat. He has argued that presidents should disregard court orders they perceive as infringing on their executive powers. Vance wrote, quote, if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct military operation, that would be illegal. Adding, if a judge tried to command the attorney general in how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. No, it's not. That's exactly what a judge does. When a general goes before a court, having been accused of a war crime, the judge rules whether or not that action was, in fact, a war crime. This ain't that hard. And coming from somebody who before this position was a senator is embarrassing. If a judge tried to command the attorney general on how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. You mean like dropping charges against the mayor of one of the largest cities in America just because he wants to cooperate and save his own ass? The hypocrisy among these people is dumbfounding. U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer recently issued a ruling that blocked access to the Treasury's payment system for the Department of Government Efficiency. The decision prompted backlash from Vance and Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who called for the judge's impeachment. Because it's a decision you don't like? Vance said, and when the courts, because you will get taken to court, and when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say, the Chief Justice has made his ruling. Now let him enforce it. Adding, this is just basic constitutional legitimacy. No, it's not. What you're saying is not legitimate. You lost. Vance added, if the elected president says, I get to control the staff of my own government. And the Supreme Court steps in and says, you're not allowed to do that. Like, that is the constitutional crisis. No, what they're saying you're not allowed to do is fire people that you're not allowed to fire. That every president before him, including him, had to deal with. I am echoing because my phone suddenly got louder and I can't turn it down. One of the channels that we're on is something called Chatter. And I have to be signed into that in addition to the desktop version. And so my phone, even though the volume's all the way down, obviously it's not down far enough. Oh, wow. Hawley stated, back to Josh Hawley, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, I think you can dislike the court's opinion and think they're wrong on the substance and criticize them for that. And you certainly can vigorously appeal, adding, and you can also read a mandate. You know, when a court issues an opinion, they issue what's called a mandate that sort of sets the direction. It's perfectly fine to read that they very narrowly, what are these people saying? It's perfectly fine to read that very narrowly to be like, all right, this is another quote inside the quote. All right, fine. You said to do this and we're going to do that, but we're going to do only that. We're not going to apply it broadly. It was a broad ruling. Finally, Hawley concluded, I think outright, sort of just like, oh, we're just going to completely ignore the decision. That I think you can't do. Andrew Jackson did that infamously. He was wrong on that. That was the Trail of Tears. That was lawless. That was wrong. Good for him. You know, Josh Hawley is a vocal supporter of Donald Trump. And, you know, it's impressive that somebody is finally growing a spine. Up next is a clip from Brian Tyler Cohen, one of the guys that somebody like me, he's got way more followers than I do. See that down at the bottom? 3.76 million subscribers. Oh, to have that audience. Someday. I mean, this guy's been at it for like over 10 years too. So, I mean, there's that. And granted, he knows what he's doing. You know, no argument there whatsoever. Here's his. He's got more than 4,000 videos. What's his total number of views? You seeing that? Yeah, he's joined October 16th, 2011. 3.1 billion with a B views. Well done, sir. Let's go back to the video.
Even in an administration.
There we go. So, I'm so got to take a break. I mean, really, the only thing I'd be doing again is the fitness one. Let's go down through some of the affiliates. Yeah, by the way, Sea Ranch Civic Association has a lot of cool events coming up. So if you're in the Pasco County, Hernando County, Pinellas County area, anywhere on the Nature Coast here in Florida, go to mysrca.com. Sign up, become a member. You will not regret that. Let me go to that for a minute. Where is it at? I think it's on here. Yeah, there we go. Put that on the screen for you. mysrca.com. That's for the Sea Ranch Civic Association. It's $20 for a year, and you get, good opportunity to hear a bunch of different things and take part. Capital Switchboard is 202-224-3121. Call your senators, call your congressman or woman, tell them this Doge thing, you're okay with it if that's the case, but it's got to be done legally. That's what we are is a nation of laws. DNR Studios, they're back with a live show today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Go to that website I gave you earlier and figure out what it is where you're at. Definitely good, funny LGBT combination. Derek Hartley and Romaine Patterson. Go to dnrstudios.com. Jane Stahl can be reached at Studio BBB. That's the art studio in our hometown that she manages. You can reach her at studiobbb.org and at the Boyertown Area Expression, where she is the co-editor. You can go to that at Boyertown Area Expression.town.news. Our Friday host, Matt Deemer, is the host of the Daily Crypto News. You can reach him at matt@dailycryptonews.net and info@deemerforcongress.com. Deemer is Diemer. My other co-host on that day is Blake Fisher. He's the host of The Homeless Conservative, meaning that he is a conservative, but not a Trump supporter. You can reach him, Blake, at thehomelessconservative.com. And remember, I don't have a visual for it. I'll have to add that. Put that up at Philip Blackett. I'll put that up and I'll move that down with them. Philip Blackett can be reached by going to anywhere you want to be on the social media at Philip Blackett, 1L, 2 T's. And we'll move that down with the guys. You can get us all by writing us at news, NEWZ, at Yergz, YERGZ.com. And for more information and other show notes and so on, go to yergz.com or mastiff.media. All right, let's get back to this now. This is Brian Tyler Cohen with a awkward pause there on the video. Brian Tyler Cohen is an attorney and political junkie like us and has this mostly on YouTube, but he's got other socials and he's got like a podcast. We're reaching out to him to try to actually get him on Yergz Radio. For other shows like that on Yergz Radio, go to Yergz, YERGZ Yergz, YERGZ radio.com. And coming soon for the LGBT community, we did a soft launch last spring rather, and we'll be doing a solid launch this year for the LGBT community, Rainbow Radio. You can see the website as we got it right now by going to rainbowradio.gay. I should put both of them up too. But this guy is a really well-read, really educated attorney, bright young man with almost 3.5 million, or almost actually 4 million followers just on YouTube alone. Let's say 10% of that subscribe to him as well. Okay, so we got 3, 7, 6, 0, 0, 0. We'll just 3.76 million followers times 0.1 is 376,000 subscribers. If that many subscribe to his paid version, and let's see what it is. Join. $4 a month. I could actually do that. Intro member. So some of those would be at $4 a month, some at 10, some at 15, some at 25, some at 50. Let's just say that they're all at $4 a month. $376 times 4. It's $1.5 million a month that dude's raking in. At least. times 12 months in a year, estimated 18 million. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why he has a staff, and I don't. Because I ain't there yet. Hang tight. It's coming. All right, let's see what he has to say. This is with regards to everything that's been happening in the aviation industry with the current Trump Secretary of Transportation and the Trump administration.
Even in an administration rife with incompetence, Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is putting on full display why a reality TV actor probably shouldn't be in charge of our nation's transportation sector. Just today, it was reported that a Delta plane coming from Minnesota landed upside down in Toronto, as you can see from this image right here. And while this was all under the jurisdiction of the Transport Canada Civil Aviation, the TCCA, which is the Canadian equivalent of the FAA.
Just remember, this was yesterday, this crash, so this is not breaking news. And this is the photo that I told you, or rather the video that I told you about, where it came from one of the passengers who was safely exited from the aircraft.
This crash puts a particular focus on the raft of other airline crashes and collisions that have completely rocked Americans' trust in air travel. Here's a quick timeline of what happened leading up to this spate of crashes.
Right, listen to this.
On January 20th, Trump and Elon Musk pushed out the FAA administrator. They never bothered naming a replacement. Also on January 20th, Trump implemented a federal hiring freeze, which included air traffic controllers. That's important because we would eventually come to find out that the crash involved one air traffic controller doing the job that would normally require two people after the DC flight crashed. On January 21st, Trump disbanded the Aviation Security Advisory Committee and fired the TSA director. On January 22nd, Trump's White House posted that President Donald J. Trump ends DEI madness and restores excellence and safety within the Federal Aviation Administration. Sean Duffy was then confirmed as Transportation Secretary on January 28th, and that's when things started going downhill fast. On January 29th, we had the first commercial plane crash in 16 years in Washington, D.C. On January 31st, a Learjet crashed in Philadelphia. On February 5th, a Japan Airlines plane struck a Delta flight on a runway in Seattle. On February 6th, a Bering Air flight wrecked in Nome, Alaska. On February 10th, a plane crashed in Scottsdale, Arizona. On February 12th, a military fighter jet crashed in the San Diego Bay. And on February 16th, a plane crashed in Covington, Georgia. At this point, Americans should probably consider traveling by boat, considering this administration can't seem to keep planes in the air. But surely, given all of these problems, the Trump administration is scrambling to rectify the situation, right? Not so much. Hundreds of FAA employees were let go this weekend as planes are colliding on a near-daily basis, stretching the remaining employees even more thin than they were before. And I should remind you that the DC crash over the Potomac involved one air traffic controller in a job that would normally require two people. Cutting these jobs is a matter of life and death for people who are traveling the skies. Only the Trump administration and this clown car cabinet he assembled don't seem to care. Why? Because Elon would rather haphazardly cut costs, even if doing so means that more and more Americans die. At this point, why have air traffic controllers at all? Think about all the money that we could save. And granted, that'll just get funneled into SpaceX and Tesla at some point. But hey, at least Doge can tweet about waste, fraud, and abuse and get some likes on Twitter. And frankly, what's more important than that? And in case you were wondering what our transportation secretary was doing during all of this, well, here's a video he posted yesterday.
All right, we're about to get on Air Force One. I got Patrick and John Paul. There's just the back end of it. Heading up to Daytona for the 500. Suit and tie, beautiful day. Hope the rain stays out. But these guys, first time Air Force One, the president is about to get here, so we're going to get on, get rolling on Daytona. About 30-minute flight, 25-minute flight. It's going to be great. Oh, there's Patrick. He's jumping. All right, see you guys later.
Just so we're clear, while planes are colliding or crashing on a near-daily basis, what the transportation secretary is doing is joyriding on Air Force One to go watch the Daytona 500. Now, one might think that the guy in charge of our nation's transportation might, give a shit that air travel is becoming more and more dangerous by the day and put that above taking a taxpayer-funded vacation to watch cars racing. But hey, something, make America great again. Second of all, isn't the mission of this administration to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse? Anyone know what it cost the President of the United States and his cabinet to do a flyover at the Daytona 500? It is hundreds of thousands of dollars at least in fuel and security and delays. All the while, we're supposed to be thanking this White House for slashing Medicaid benefits to pay for all this stuff? Got it. And to that point, I've got to ask, will Sean Duffy be reimbursing taxpayers for using government-funded travel to fly to the Daytona 500? Because here's what Fox's Brett Baier said to Pete Buttigieg almost exactly 2 years ago.
You also brought your husband, Chasten, on a military aircraft to attend a sporting event in Netherlands. Was that
That's quite a spin to put on.
No. But was that reimbursed? Because that was one of the controversies.
Of course not.
So this is something I like about Pete Buttigieg. Brett Baier is essentially firing shots over the bow with regards to the fact that former Secretary Pete Buttigieg is gay. And he makes great points here about how plenty of other secretaries have traveled with their spouses on official movements like this, where the spouse is invited and welcome. And they say nothing about it. And here, let's go back to it.
Price.
I led a presidential delegation to support American wounded warriors and injured service members, the Invictus Games, as has been tradition for many years. I led the American delegation. It was one of the great honors of my time in this job. And the diplomatic protocol on a presidential delegation is that the principal is often accompanied by their spouse. It was a great trip. It was incredible. It was also a few weeks into the Ukraine war. So we had a chance at the U.S. Embassy to engage with the Ukrainian competitors, also wounded service members. Some of them went from the games back to the battlefield to fight for their country. I also took the opportunity to sit with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands to look at port infrastructure, Dutch port infrastructure. But here's what I want you to understand. Before me, it was the Secretary of the Army under President Trump who took that trip with his wife. Before that, it was Mrs. Trump as First Lady who went to the Invictus Games. Before that, Mrs. Obama did the same thing.
Sure.
And I guess the question on my mind is, if no one's raising questions about why Secretary Esper and his wife led that delegation, and as well they should have, then why is it any different when it's me and my husband?
Understood.
Boom.
So I'm curious, will Brett Baier ask the same thing of Sean Duffy now? Do we pay taxes so that Trump and his buddies can go on little vacations for free? And should they be vacationing when planes can't seem to stay in the sky? Sure as much heat when there was never a problem with aviation safety, and yet now that aviation safety is a disaster, Fox and its hosts don't seem to be all that concerned. Truly one of life's great mysteries. But hey, with all of that said, I think Secretary Duffy finally has a handle on things. He took to Twitter, writing, "America deserves safe, state-of-the-art travel, and President Trump has ordered that I deliver a new world-class air traffic control system that will be the envy of the world. To do that, I need advice from the brightest minds in America. I'm asking for help from any high-tech American developer or company that is willing to give back to our country." Because nothing says competence quite like soliciting job applications from Twitter. Strange that we even need new people considering everything was totally fine before Trump and Elon took an axe to the federal government, before they fired a bunch of department heads, disbanded the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, implemented a hiring freeze, and cleaned house at the FAA, all the while beating their chests as having restored aviation security. Instead of congratulating themselves on ending DEI and restoring that safety, perhaps they should consider re-implementing it, considering planes actually managed to land safely at their destinations when DEI was in place. Of course, that won't stop them from blaming DEI anyway, which led to this exchange on CNN.
DOT is a big department. The only DEI office that...
So you heard it go muted a couple times. He drops an F-bomb. And we're still on terrestrial radio here in the United States, so I've got to be respectful of that. And I got to try to bleep it out. And I'm not. I thought it was coming, and it didn't. So this is for those of you watching. That's Secretary Sean Duffy, the new Trump Secretary of Transportation, and he's on with Jake Tapper, a anchor from the cable news network, also known as CNN.
exists in the whole department was at the FAA. Now that existed up to a week ago. That's now gone.
So again, you alluded to this earlier, that the idea of the DEI expanded the number of people trying to get into the air traffic control training, not necessarily those who graduated. The head of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association says that all air traffic controllers are subject to rigorous training and that, quote, the standards to achieve certification have nothing to do with race or gender or anything else. So it sounds like you're saying that there isn't any evidence right now that this affected the accident because it's so early. You'll let us know if there is any, but
he already knows there's no evidence that this affected the accident. They're talking about the one that was over the Potomac between the Black Hawk helicopter and the same type of aircraft, by the way, that crashed in Toronto. Now, we now know that it was helicopter pilot error that caused that crash. But they also kind of were already leaning towards that type of result, which, because of who the pilots were in both the helicopter, the airplane, and the traffic controllers, would have, by definition, eliminated DEI.
I just don't know of any evidence, and if there is some, please tell us, that DEI had anything to do with the tragedy itself.
What I'm talking
What he's doing there is stuttering, is what he's doing.
about is the mission of safety. And on your airplanes, Jake, or your air traffic controllers, or anyone that works at CNN or anywhere else, they do want the best and the brightest.
Well, I gotta say, thank God DEI has been ended, because can you imagine how dangerous air travel might be if DEI was still in place? Could you imagine how many planes would be crashing?
Here it
I'll
comes.
tell you what, we sure did dodge a bullet. Phew. The reality is that Trump rammed through a bunch of unqualified nominees to lead departments that they were incapable of leading, and this is...
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've been bitching about, and he's spot on about. This guy, in fact, this segment in today's description of the show, I entitled From Reality to Fantasyland. Sean Duffy, like Donald Trump, his claim to fame is that he was on some reality TV show. I don't even know, because I don't watch that stupid stuff. But his biggest claim to fame before being the Secretary of Transportation was that he was on some reality TV show, which, as we all know, is nowhere close to life with us in reality. And now he's got some dream job that he's just flat out not qualified for. All right, let me get ready to bleep something. I know it's coming.
This is what happens as a result. This right here is the consequence. Donald Trump owns all of this. Elon Musk owns all of this. And all of these spineless Republican senators who greenlit Sean Duffy own all of this. These people are such fucking
well, anyway, I think you get the point. I tried so hard. Anyway, I think you get the point. The cuts that he went through and detailed since Trump came to office, you can't deny it. It's what he did. You can't deny that. And all right, what's this one? We talked about that at the beginning. That was a great list. But you can't deny what he took that through. The FAA. And let me know if I'm wrong. We got Ken in the chat. We don't have a delay. Ken's laughing at me because I couldn't believe it. We don't have a delay, but I did know it was coming. I just wasn't sure exactly when, and I didn't have time to edit it so that I lowered the volume at that one spot. And anyway, because I just found this video this morning. What's his? It's kind of how Patreon works for subscription. Maybe Patreon may be something to investigate too. Yeah, I actually have a Patreon account. I'm just not using it yet. I just don't feel like I've got something worth, charging you for. I'm open to suggestions. Like Philip earlier suggested that I tell a Secret Service story every week with him. That's not a bad idea. And that's kind of the appeal that I have being a retired agent from the Secret Service, I should use that. I think that's a great idea. Let me know in the comments what you would pay for. And no, OnlyFans or to do the show shirtless, especially now. I got man boobs. But let me know what you would pay for. We do have a former congressman coming up in the next couple of weeks who's going to be a guest. I think we got to offer that for free. But let me know what you would pay for. And we'll work on it. So this is the list. We talked about that 2 hours ago. What do we got here? Oh, I got to talk about this. The Florida Internet and Terrestrial Radio Group. This is on Meetup, meetup.com. Ken says he'd like to hear some Secret Service stuff. This is on meetup.com. It's a group I'm starting by my company, Mastiff Media. The name we use is mastiff.media because that's also the web address. That's the URL. So mastiff.media is putting together the Radio Roundtable, a weekly event done by the Florida Internet and Terrestrial Radio Group on Meetup. But if you just go to meetup.com, search for either one, and search for many of the tags that you see down here that I put into the description, as well as the tags that it lets us put into the profile, you should have no problem finding us. Let's refresh, see if we got any more. Nope, still. I just did this 2 nights ago, so I'm still trying to get the word out. If you are in radio, internet, terrestrial, and also I've recently learned about shortwave. I think we just lost WDJY. Yep, it's 1:00 here on the East Coast, so we lost LA or Atlanta. Why is that one not going down? Well, I can stop that. I have all these clocks that I use that keeps me on schedule. Clearly, they're not working because I didn't do near the number of spots I got to get used to doing. Because what I do, I have a call today with a sponsor. Speaking of which, so I've got to be more on top of that. But the Radio Roundtable is going to be a weekly thing. The time is going to be flexible because we want to try to incorporate global time zones. Like, for example, on February 28th, a week from this Friday, it's at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 a.m. in Melbourne. So hopefully I'll be able to get the GM of that station to join us that day. And I know 8 p.m. on a Friday night may not be a cool time for us bar goers, but again, we're doing this to try to incorporate multiple time zones. And then that's also going to be about 1 a.m. for London, where we have another station. So we will back it up some in the coming weeks so that they can join us as well. So if that's something that you do sign up for, and it's not just broadcasters, if you're an audio sound engineer, if you're a content writer, what we would often call a producer, if you own or operate any sort of station, obviously if you have multiple roles, then we're definitely interested in having you. And if you're even wanting to learn, it's for all experience levels. And so you don't have to have your own show yet. You don't have to own your own station yet. Any of that. Everybody's welcome. I can take that off. Everybody's welcome. And we look forward to meeting with all of you at the Radio Roundtable starting in a week and a half. Good. Had some people joining. Mark is winning. I recognize that one. I was bitching about this earlier. Mark is winning. This guy here. He's a return. Anger Jesus. That's an interesting one. Tree, I didn't know. Palm Home, no. Don't recognize him. Floyd Phillips, I know personally. I know him. He's an investor, actually. I was hoping he would stay a little longer, really. And Peter Pumpkinhead, I think, has been on before. So, see, there's a message there. Mark Reap, you want to do a broadcast for the something something? Maybe I can get it on my phone. But yeah, we are over. Not that I got to jump right at 1 o'clock, but I do have things to. Mark Reap wants to know if I want to do a broadcast for the Bethel Boys. I have no idea what that means. Oh, that's Mark is winning. And he checked in here. I don't know what that means, but I will certainly reach out to him. Not a bad-looking guy. Nice body. You want to do a broadcast for the Bethel Boys. And he said that about half an hour ago. What was I talking about a half an hour ago? That I want to do a broadcast for the Bethel Boys. I don't know. But I'll tell you where I'm not getting the turnout that I should be getting. Because I really supported this app. And that's Chatter. I mean, I know that they have, and I could be doing better on my cell phone Clubhouse, so I'm not really not really discouraged about the results there so far. But Chatter, I've been really supportive with. And I think they could be promoting us a little better, especially now that we're in Australia. I mean, come on. So yeah, what I do with these, because the chat says when you've joined the broadcast, I actually reach out to each one of them individually and thank them for joining, remind them of when we're on the air. Floyd, I'm going to call because I actually owe him a phone call. He called back when I was sick about 2 weeks ago, and his voicemail, and I probably emailed too, I'm not sure, got buried, and I neglected to call him back. So that's not cool. But I heard back from WBCQ in Maine. They do have multiple transmitters. Your show would fit best on the 7490 kilohertz transmitter. Okay. I mean, you tell me. As far as getting a shortwave radio, go to eBay. Thousands to choose from. And I would just send them the audio feed for broadcast over their transmitters. That's easy. That's what I do with Australia. And Australia, Atlanta, both Atlanta stations. I think London gets it from Icecast, from the actual app that we use to transmit. What else we got? So I saw a thing on their website that pricing was $30 an hour. And they're saying it's $50 an hour. They didn't answer the question as to whether or not it was a typo or whatever. But I mean, $50 an hour is still cheaper. I just got to make sure that it's worthwhile. We sell straight time, full hours for the programmers to do with as they please. Yeah. Free speech radio. Listened in the other day. Very interesting insights on various perspectives. Definitely fits WBCQ's audience. All right, cool. And I wrote him back. I said, I'll reach out after the show. We're probably going to run late because I don't usually stop rambling all that good. But let's do the eBay thing. Let's see what's. Yeah, I've been saying this. Republicans are pro-Russia. What the actual F? And yeah. I mean, that should have been the indicator a long time ago that this guy, doesn't have the mental capacity to be a president. Short wave radios for sale. Well, Kenwood radio for $400. I don't think I'm going to get that one. Oh, these are transmitting too. Yeah, this is, ham radio hut. Okay. That's probably a good place to look. Shortwave radio for dummies. There we go. Realistic shortwave radios for sale, as opposed to, I'm not looking to get my own station like these guys do. Although, if I'm going to be paying hundreds of dollars a month, in the long run, short wave desktop they're available at Walmart. Come on. This is definitely something to look into. But I want to go back to that one cover page because I saw something. I hope these don't change constantly. Josh Hawley again. This guy's going to be running for president. You watch. I've been registered independent my entire life because as a political scientist by education, and now, somebody that's commenting this way, I don't want to be pushed one way or another, but I will register Republican to vote for him. He's got that level of common sense. Trump's DOJ, oh, what is this? Trump's DOJ sends letter to Schumer. We take threats seriously. I'll believe that when I see it. In March 2020, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized Supreme Court Justices Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, warning of the consequences of their decisions on abortion. The remarks have since resurfaced as the Trump administration, led by United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Ed Martin, who is appointed this week because of major resignations, seeks clarification on the statements. Following President Donald Trump's inauguration, Martin addressed Schumer's comments, noting that they would not be overlooked. At the time, Schumer stated, "I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. Martin wrote, "We take threats against public officials very seriously." Oh my God, get over yourself. I look forward to your cooperation with my letter of inquiry after request. Schumer also faced criticism for his recent response to Trump's proposed tariffs on imports from Mexico. Tell me again, I'm not even finishing this bullshit. Tell me again who's weaponizing the Justice Department? Go ahead and tell me that Biden did shit like this. I got to see if I'm still on in Australia. Boy, they're getting a great first day. But I mean, seriously, people, come on. WZQR? Nope. We were cut at 1 o'clock there. Radio X in Australia? Dun, dun, dun. And we were cut at, would have been 2 o'clock there, or depending on 5 o'clock on the East Coast. Okay. So, I mean, good, because what happens with, because they program the feed for a particular time. What happens with the UG in London, they use the Icecast protocol that we do the actual broadcast from. And I cut into whoever follows me because I don't end on time on Fridays. And I feel bad about that, but I'm not just going to cut it for that one station. I could probably manually do it on Mix. But, I mean, I'm desperately needing a producer. So as it is, I can't worry about that yet. So if I disconnect Atlanta, apply, boom, get the green light again, and we're still broadcasting on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. But I mean, you know, I think it's time to wrap up. This is exactly what I'm talking about, though, gang. You can't tell me that he's not trying. It's Chuck Schumer. One of two things are going to happen. You're either not going to influence him because he's an old Jew set in his ways, or he's going to die. He's an old guy. And so what they're really doing is weaponizing the Justice Department under the guise of some pathetic threat from 4 years ago. I'm kind of an expert on this, by the way. This is what I did. If anybody is going to whack the two who have security anyway, it would have happened already. Oh, what is this country coming to? Literally, what is this country coming to? And yeah, I mean, I think the Democrats could certainly use a better leader. Not that Chuck Schumer's bad. It's just time for a change. They can't be talking about making change and then not make change. Oh, now who's threatening Barack Obama now? Let's see what this guy's got. Man, y'all better stand down. I'm the truth. Ant boldly tells U.S. President Barack Obama that he's the real deal. All right. Minnesota Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards has risen to superstar status in the NBA thanks to his incredible combination of absurd athleticism and tremendous hoop skills. However, his most lethal attribute is arguably his limitless confidence, which he put on full display before former U.S. President Barack Obama. In the first episode of the Netflix documentary series, Court of Gold, Ant was seen conversing with Barack and 2023 NBA MVP Joel. I don't know how to pronounce these names. I'm not a basketball guy. When the former commented to the latter, "He can hoop a little bit, huh?" To which the Philadelphia 76ers ace responded, just a little bit. Upon hearing those statements, Edwards, a three-time All-Star, couldn't but correct both Obama and Embiid about his stature in the league. Now you all better stand down, Edwards bluntly said. I'm the truth. Okay, great. I always liked Obama. He's kind of a normal guy. One story I got about him, I'll save this for, I'll tell it now. I'll bring Philip back next week. He was former president and was still living in D.C., as I think he is now. And I was the airport agent at Reagan Airport. They get in late one night, and cracked my back. I did not use the airport police as part of the security plan because the tarmac outside of Signature Air was empty, and I knew I could talk the Signature Air ground people into bringing the plane right up to the corner of the building, where there's also a gate that I had access to, and I could put his motorcade cars right outside that gate. That also cuts about 10 minutes off his motorcade time because the police have to take him from the plane all the way around to another gate at the other end of the airport, yielding to aircraft, of course. And then they got to go through that gate and come all the way back. And by the way, they're going to pass the parking lot that his motorcade would have been sitting in. So if I just start in that parking lot right outside that gate, I just cut 10 minutes off his motorcade route, and I'm getting him home that much quicker. So they come off the plane. He's with Valerie Jarrett, and they're walking. And he's used to the cars being right at the bottom of the steps. They're walking towards the building. And she says, yeah, I'm going to head to my car and go home. I'll see you tomorrow. And he goes, yeah, where's my car? And everybody just starts laughing because everybody else was in on it. The shift knew that we weren't going to have the Matrix. What, buddy? That's one of my two dogs. They're napping. So yeah, he goes, yeah, where's my car? And the whole shift starts laughing. I step out and say, this way, Mr. President. It's right through this gate. It's going to save you 10 minutes off your motorcade time. To which, obviously, he couldn't be happy enough. All right, let's go back to that clock thing that I love. It is, where are we at? 1:21. Oh, you know what? It's got a column for that too. Oh, that's so cool. I don't even have to try to do any math or anything. 1:21 on the East Coast here, 10:21 out there on the left coast, 6:21 in London, 19:21 in Berlin, 2:21 a.m. in Perth, 5:21 in Melbourne and Sydney. That's it for today. Almost 2.5 hours. Will you stop? Almost 2.5 hours. It's time to go. Time to get me some lunch. I got some calls to make and some other things to do. Thanks for running with the big dogs. Thanks for getting off the porch and going up the middle. This is Politics for the Rest of Us. I'm Jurgs, a voice that sounds like yours. We'll see you tomorrow. I think. There we go.